It's not blue.
I should say good evening, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rob. There's an echo. There's missing, and on that note, the assistant director of staffing and talent management is in the room, obviously not participating at the table. Kevin Coffey, who's here behind me because we have any issues that may come up from implementation. Kevin knows that world, so he's here as a guest today. Kevin usually watches on YouTube, so he's now on YouTube. What's next? Elephants, I have none, and expectation is to get some agreements.
Kelly Letcher, I'm fine, no time constraints, missing noted, no elephants, and get some agreements.
Kimberly Hutchins, doing good, no time constraints, missing noted, no elephants, and get some agreements.
Jessica Duncan, doing good, no time constraints, missing is noted, no elephants, and expectation is to get some agreements.
I'm Rachel, I'm doing well. I might have to go at 2:45, but I told my APs they can.
Should I X out of this since we don't have it?
I would. And start over.
Yep, it's working.
Okay, perfect. It's on. Connection. So, wait, closed caption is on.
I turned it off because I thought maybe that was part of the problem.
Okay.
backup,
Forget it.
so go ahead, Sharon.
All right, Shannon Johnston, I am great. No time constraints. I believe Christine is also not here. No elephants, and expectations are lots of orange circles. Well, just orange circles, so you don't have to write anything.
Good afternoon, I'm Ben Osman, I'm great, I don't have any time constraints. The missing is noted, I don't have any elephants. And I agree with Shannon, but just to not have to write anything else, we'll just go with orange circles.
I'm Mike Gatewood. I'm doing great. I have no time constraints. Missing is noted, no elephants, expectation, orange circles.
Good afternoon, I'm Suzette Rivera. I'm doing well, no time constraints. Missing has been noted, no elephants, and my expectations are to get some orange circles.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Kurt Wilson. I'm the chief negotiator for the unions. I'm doing fine. I think the only time constraint on our side is 3:30. Missing, I think we have Mario and Lewis missing, but Lewis is on the way. And Amy Johnson is watching on YouTube. No elephants, expectations, hit some agreements.
Good afternoon, my name is Kevin Daly, I'm the president of the Teachers Association of Lee County. I am fine. Time constraint 3:30, who's missing Jill temporarily because hopefully pizza is here. No elephants, but I'll explain the hat. I was told by a little birdie that the offer is going to be so good that I'm going to have to hold my hat. I'm wearing a hat in expectation. And my expectations are to get some more circles.
Good afternoon, I am Anna Whitten. I am a third grade teacher at Colonial Elementary. I am also the top secretary. I am doing fine. I have no time constraints. Missing is noted, no elephants, and expectation is orange circles. Good afternoon, my name is Samantha. I'm PCT at Harms Marshall School. I'm fine. I have no time constraints. Missing's been noted. I have no elephants. And I would also like to see some orange circles.
Good afternoon, my name is Shay Pearson. I am a testing coordinator at Island Coast High School. I'm also the top treasurer. I'm doing fine. I have no time constraints. I have no elephants. Missing's been noted, and I like orange circles too.
Good afternoon, I'm Lashonda Hutchins Colon. I am relieved. Spring break is here. I'm the math coach at Franklin Park Elementary. I have no time constraints except for 2:30 would be nice. I like to start shooting with, so that's what that is. Missing is noted, no elephants, and my expectation is orange circles.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Iris Grimaldi. I'm a school social worker currently assigned to Lehigh Senior High School. I'm doing well. I have no time constraints with the exception of 2:30. No elephants. My expectations are orange circles and missing has been noted.
Good afternoon, I'm Christina Starrett, and I am doing well as well. Relieved that grades and awards are in. Spring break is here. 3:30 time constraints, missing noted, no elephants, expectations. Get some agreements.
Good afternoon, my name is Bob Salvatore. I teach mathematics at Three Oaks Middle School, and I'm doing fine. No time constraints, missing is noted, no elephants, and my expectations are to have orange circles and to be very supportive of Kevin's hat.
I'm Tara Sherman, I'm a school counselor in CPH Elementary. No time constraints, missing is noted, no elephants, expectations orange circles.
All right, thank you, and we'll get the others as they come in. We have a couple of adjustments to the agenda. The minutes from February 7th. We said we would change or approve tonight, whatever needs to be done. So, do we have any changes or deletions, corrections to the minutes from February 7th? First.
February 7th since the last one. Is Jill here to take down the changes then?
Yeah.
We're gonna take rules with Jill. So Teresa, I don't know if it would be easier, I made notes on the hard copy, would you put those as your notes? I mean, it was just spelling errors and it was nothing of substance. The only thing, let me make sure. The only thing that may be substantial is on page 10, under the second bullet.
I'm doing all right.
There's,
I got all these people right now.
third line.
No, that's okay, I already accept myself.
I was, circling over in this part of the session and you can home. Strike the words football coaches, because all supplements are based on a percentage of the minimum base salary, not just football coaches supplements, so I don't know why that's there. The rest of my changes are all spelled.
Okay, thanks, Kurt. Anybody else? Corrections, deletions? For February 7th? Okay, then can we approve the February 7th minutes with the corrections? Please sign, please. All right, February 7th is approved. Thank you. And we had 3 people just come in, so, Jill, you want to check in?
Sure.
They're on the back wall.
Hi. Hi, I'm Jill. I'm doing quite well. I am a peer collaborative teacher at Varsity Lakes Middle School, and I'm also the vice president of TALC. I don't have any time constraints for the rest of our session. The missing is noted, no elephants, and my expectation is orange circles.
Thank you, Carl. Oh, sorry, I didn't know you had the mic, Will.
I'm Carl, fine. No time constraints. I guess who was missing's been noted. No elephants? Oh, it takes a while, I forgot about that. Okay, I'm Carl. Once again, I'm fine. No time constraints. Who is missing's been noted. No elephants. And expectations, what was above that? I'll just say orange circles.
Thank you. And pass that down to Will, please.
Hi, I'm Will Rothenberg. I'm doing well. No time constraints. I hope I wasn't missing. No elephants. Expectation. Orange circles.
Okay, and I skipped the 3 of us, so let's check in, please.
Sure. I'm Amanda. I'm doing well. No time constraints. Missing has been noted. No elephants, and hopefully help you get some agreements done.
Thanks. Amy?
I'm Amy French. I'm doing well. I might have a time constraint. I just got a text from our person who did our kitchen, and my pine coffee is no longer in stock. So I have to have one picked up by tomorrow. So I might have to leave. Missing is noted, no elephants, and my expectations are orange circles. That's why I brought an orange highlighter today.
Oh, you brought your own? Wow. I'm Donna, and I'm doing well. No time constraints. It's been noted, no elephants, and help you reach your expectations. So with that, we had one other quick thing we can do, and then we may want to break while the pizza's hot. For the public notice language. Kurt, you want to start?
Yeah, Liam will put it on the screen.
That should turn.
Is the red light on? I mean, is the blue light on? No?
Not on this side.
Here, just take this one.
Okay, I don't know how long these take to warm up, maybe we want the pizza first and then do this. Will?
Well, it's,
But it should for this one, yeah. I know.
Hello.
There's two different numbers.
HDMI one
if it says split room mode, I don't know how it's.
HDMI mode.
It's up on this one on the right.
What is that? Well, let's see which this is on.
I thought that was on HDM one as well. But we don't have it.
That's on one.
Oh, that's on two.
So, combined.
There it goes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
All right, can everybody see that? Or do we need to move some chart stands or anything?
I need a sticker.
I can.
Okay.
So just to give a little bit of background while people are looking at that, this is language that was drafted with Christy Schroed. She's not here today, but it's in order to address an issue that came up, and I think there was a settlement agreement in place between TALC and the district to try and resolve this through the bargaining process. I believe through some of the back and forth that Kerr wanted to make sure that we recorded in the minutes some of the specifics of what it is that would be requested, but it's to make sure that TALC has the information that they need in order to get an accurate count of members and where people are working and other things for like business reasons.
Yeah, thanks, Will. This language was jointly developed, I think, with Christy Schroed and by Mr. Urban as an attempt to rectify the situation where we don't get all of our potential member bargaining unit data from the district. 'Cause there were, at one time, the board created a request for exemption from public disclosure forms, and a number of employees who are in the top bargaining unit who completed those forms, their data is confidential or waived and should not be for the bargaining agent. So the ones that I wanted to make sure were on here to record in the minutes would be the following information for each bargaining unit member, of course, regardless of their, for lack of a better phrase, confidential status. First and last name. I mean, if I start going too fast, personal home phone number, personal cell phone number, job title or job description, work site, work location, personal mailing address, personal email, date of birth, DID or employee ID number, job family, union code, latest regular hire date. I believe all of those things are, with the exception of maybe the DOB, the date of birth, is already in our on the software report, but those are the items we're looking for.
Okay. Anybody else on this issue? Will, anything? No? All right, are we ready to approve this language?
Yes.
All right, we may have our first orange circle.
New marker.
She's ready. All right, yay, good job, that deserves pizza. So, I guess
high school. Worn out, but glad to finally be on break. I have no time constraints. As anybody else was missing just now, didn't know it or showed up, I have no elements, and my expectations are that, yes, it's something that.
All right, thank you. Would you pass it to Mario, please?
Thank you. Mario Cristal from Central Madison School Math. I am doing okay. Recuperating from my car crash. It was not my fault. Which explains why I missed the last few sessions. My expectations are to get something done because we've been working hard. I have no elephants, and about 3 o'clock I need to leave because one of the doctors closed early, and I'll be there the last 7 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mario. We're sorry to hear about your accident, but I'm glad you're doing better. Thank you. All right, so we've covered 2 things already, the minutes and the public records language. So moving on to our agenda. The first thing on the agenda, I believe, is the retention bonus testimony. And do we need to post all the options we had from last time? We have them ready to go.
Donna?
Yeah.
We have a chart to put up that we did work on relative to spouse option about their different dates of hire. So just give me a second, I'll put that up.
Okay. Yep, no problem. There we go.
You can see that.
Can you see that, everyone? All right, Rob, you want to?
Kelly's gonna talk us through. Sorry, I gotta fix it.
So the numbers in column C are the numbers that fall within the groupings that you all asked about. So the people that were the original hires is 5,130. That's people that were previously hired and continued into the current year. B are the employees that were hired between their start date and the end of the first quarter, which was October 14th. There's 610 employees. C are the employees that were hired during third quarter. There are 122 of those. And D, if you see in column B, is where I'm talking about A, B, C, D. D, there were 98 employees hired in the fourth quarter so far. So the total employees as of, I think it was Monday or Tuesday when they pulled this, it was 5,960. So when you're looking at that, so column C and E are the district's original plan of $2,500 per employee. So the total for that is $14,900. So then I believe you all came back and asked us for those people hired in that A and B category. So the first quarter for the 2,500, then those hired in the second quarter, 1,250, and those hired in the third quarter, 750. And then $500 for everyone who's remaining at the end of the fiscal year. So we assumed everyone who's here right now will be here through the end of the fiscal year. The scenario that you all proposed is 17,500, or 17 million, sorry, 556,000. So you can see that it exceeds the amount that we have allocated for that. So just trying to break it down in some different categories for you all. We ran some numbers, and HR actually ran the numbers. I don't want to take the credit for this. So they ran the numbers trying to get some different things where it might work within the categories that you all were asking. If we were to do A and B at 2,250, C at 1,000, D at 500, and then at the end, everybody that's still here would get 304. That would bring you right into the 14,897. Or the other option would be 1,500 for A and B, 1,000 for C, 500 for D, and then 1,026 for everyone who was remaining, and that would also bring you in to that, close to that amount.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Anybody have any questions?
Sidewalk for a second.
Yep. Okay, go ahead, Anna.
So we were just talking about, the first two lines, like the 6:30 date and then the 10:14 date. So from what I understand is there were 610 new employees that were employed at the end of the first quarter. So that's going in along with all of the employees from last year, which is why we would see two line amounts for 2,500. Is that correct?
Yeah, yes.
And so the 110 date is the end of the second quarter, and then the 317 is the end of the third quarter. Does that help?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or clarifications needed on this? Do we need time to caucus or process it? Sure.
Is this the same amount that was available, the total available funds that we discussed in, when were we at, Monday? Or, I guess what I'm trying to say is, we heard that there was an executive session, and I didn't know if this had extra money that was allocated or what?
No, this is the same money we're talking about Monday. Bonus relative to what happened yesterday with the board, we can talk about when we get to, yeah, this is ESSER funding only, so. Nothing yesterday was involving ESSER funds.
Okay, thank you. Anna?
Do these numbers include any of the drops in there for people that were not eligible? Like, let's just say with the 5,130 teachers that came back at the beginning of the year, let's say 100 of them have left, have those numbers been taken out of those numbers? Any resignations for the year?
Yeah, this is active employees only.
Okay,
Yep, as of the other day, when we did this, a couple days ago.
okay, thank you.
Kevin?
So this is the ESSER only funding bonus, correct? Yes? So I know the board met in executive session, which is why I'm wearing my hat. So do we believe that there is another possible bonus out of that meeting yesterday that would go on top of this as well?
Yes, to be paid after the beginning of the school year next year as a retention bonus.
So this bonus, ESSER bonus, expires at the end of the contract year for teachers this year, correct? So like money now, money at the end of the school year, contribution bonus would be money upon return.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment, yeah.
Any other questions, clarifications?
Kerr is curious about what that plan is.
That's an additional $1,000 bonus.
And that's paid October?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, I know that was the earliest thing we talked about last time, so, okay.
Yes, so you can keep your hat on.
All right, Anna?
So looking at the, like line down 7, going across the 630 estimated, the district recommended plan has zero employees, while the TALC recommended plan has 500. So is that 500 number the expectation that there would be an additional 500 employees?
No, that's dollars.
That's dollars.
The employees are the 98, 59, 60 on the far left. Column C.
So your recommendation was that at the end of the fiscal year, every employee that was still here get it $500, and that is assuming every employee who was in the first numbers would still be here, the $500 at the end of the year would be that amount.
Jill?
So, I have a question about the spreadsheet. Is this a spreadsheet where like if numbers changed, we can see new calculations?
Yes.
Okay. So for example, the end of the year amount, if that were not there, would we be in budget? My math is, I can't.
For the TALC recommended plan?
For the TALC recommended plan, would we be in budget?
If that 500 was gone.
Yes, he is on his screen tape, so, yeah.
I just want to
Yes,
see what.
you will.
There you go.
There you are.
Okay.
Yeah, right back.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Bob, do you have one? You look like you're ready to put one up.
I'm just curious as to the date of October. I don't know if we agreed to it. Where did that come up as far as why the October date?
Yeah, we talked about this last time. In fact, we talked about it, I think, in our executive caucus meeting, whatever we called that. Yeah. Right, this would be the one paid out this year, but October was because of the logistics behind the beginning of the school year for both human resources and payroll.
And the only reason why I'm bringing that up is because I've had, there's many members that are questioning the October and the coincidental governor decision about the 25% sales, on gasoline in October, and they're equating it to a political type of situation between the two. And I don't know where, again, are we stuck with that October date, or is that worthy of a discussion?
Well,
I'm not sure about the political thing that you were just talking about. I can tell you based on the conversation, it was, we have the beginning of the year where we have all of the onboarding of new employees. That's when staffing and talent management has the most transactions because people are taking on new assignments or they're at new schools. All the PAFs for new hires and everything go through. And then I think the contract says in September is when we start paying supplements. And so when you look at that, and some of the challenges that we've had with, okay, if there's a delay in getting people onboarded and making sure they're in the right place and then getting them their supplements, it really does make it difficult to add one more thing in there until you're done with the first quarter and things have kind of settled down. So I think that's where the October came from. It didn't have anything to do with anything that the governor said.
I just think it was a coincidental thing where members were looking at this saying, well, it's kind of funny that the legislative decision out of the last session was the gas, because they were going to save 25 cents a gallon on gasoline. And that put a bad taste in people's mouth because it wouldn't, the timing of it. And then they saw this and it was almost like, this one's October as well. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, and I can't speak for others, but I can say I don't pay much attention to what the governor of the legislature has to say.
All right. And I guess my point is, can we come up with a date that's faster than October or no?
Well, I think a couple of things. One is I think we're getting away from the $2,500. The October, I can tell you, the additional $1,000 that the board authorized us to spend yesterday was contingent on it being paid at that time. So after the school year begins, and we'll just explain why October works.
That's a separate conversation from what's up here on the charts. So, what's up here on the charts, we're talking about just ESSER funding for this year, to be paid out this year.
And I may be remiss, Kelly just reminded, we have the additional 1,500 from the 4,000. I think that's what Bob's talking about, that would be paid in October, right? Is that what you're talking about? Okay. Yeah, I mean, our explanation stays the same. That has nothing to do with yesterday.
Right. Anything else, Kevin?
Yes.
There's an additional $1,000, just in case you're wondering, in addition to what we already have been negotiating.
So the October ESSER 1,500 in October is still there, but not reflected here.
Correct.
Okay, so it would be 2,500 now, so it's this plan, whatever plan it is we select or however we move it to close out this school year, and then there's still the 1,500 from Monday on October 12th, and then the possibility of another 1,000 from the board also on October 12th, so that would be 2,500.
Correct.
Okay. If nobody else has any question on my side, I think we need to call this a piece.
Okay, all right.
I do have just a question.
Okay.
Will, can you send us the spreadsheet so we can play around with the numbers a little bit? Okay.
Thank you. Approximate time frame?
We're gonna go.
We can go something.
20?
Cattle prod next to say.
All right, caucus report?
So before we do our caucus report, I just wanted to thank the district for going back to the board. Thank the board for including, more money into the board contribution. I'm sorry, to a lot of money available, and wanted to thank our brothers and sisters in Spout for their advocacy. They've been advocating really hard over the last couple of weeks, so just want to throw that in there before our caucus report. We had a lot of discussion around the options that were on the screen, and I think we have our own that we would like to put up there if you want to fill in numbers or whatever works best for you.
All right, do you have anything else to add to the report before we add an option? All right, so in the scheme of things, I think this would be option 5, and the retention bonus option. All right, go ahead.
Right, so I'm going to use the letters that we have up here. So for Group A, this is the group that worked all year last year, or were employees last year in that crazy year that the 2020-2021 school year was, and then came back. So we wanted to recognize the service to the district and the loyalty to the district and then coming back. And so that amount we are proposing to be $25.75. For Group B, these are the folks that started in Q1. That price, or that amount, $2,200. For Group C, this is the Q2 folks, $1,900. And Group D, this is Q3 folks, $1,300. And this adequately spends the money available, so there will be nothing at the end.
Or you said this would be payable when?
Let's see, today's the 18th,
Check direct deposit this afternoon.
That really would blow your head off.
April.
Okay, I know, I'll check. At least check it with Kim, okay. So we'd like, because of items that need to be sorted through and pulled, we would ask April 30th.
We're way under. Wow, okay. We did the math, we weren't under.
No, we're not. I'm really looking at this.
We'll soon will that, I don't know.
This is way
We got a formula issue, just hold on.
There you go. Oh, that number looks a little better.
There we go.
I told you, math on the fly is dangerous.
Okay, so that's your option. Any questions on that from anybody? Clarifications needed? Rob?
Yeah, I just think for the record, and this, please don't take this in any negative manner, but could TALC again explain why they want to treat essentially 210 employees significantly different than the rest?
Are you talking about the folks in groups C and D? Right.
Yes.
Do you want to handle it, Joe?
So I wanted to, but it's not that we want to treat people differently. We recognize the challenges that the COVID-19 pandemic have brought to education. And what we want to do is recognize people for the struggle that they had last year and also the struggle of this year. And so it's not about treating people differently, it's about compensating people for how we have had to work during a pandemic. And the stress that that's brought on to teachers, the challenge it has been for teachers to stay in the profession. This has probably been the hardest, because it was 2 years ago that we went on spring break and we were supposed to have a 2-week spring break and then we never came back. And I'll tell you, when we went back to school that fall, teachers walked into classrooms and cried because they still had March dates on the board. They still had their room the way it was when they left, yet there was so much trauma and stress from the pandemic. And we walked into our classrooms in the fall of 2020, and we were expected to teach like nothing had ever happened. And it was a race to make up every educational deficit. And while we did that, we forgot about the trauma that our kids had while they were not in school. We forgot about the trauma that we had while we were not in school. And then all of the additional issues that we faced last year with hybrid courses, all of that stuff, teachers gave everything they had and then some. And there were articles in the paper about the Great Resignation, hundreds of teachers resigning at the end of the year. 5,130 people chose to stay after what we thought would be the worst year we had in education. And boy, were we surprised in August of this year when it was worse than it was the year before. And yet, people have continued to stay. And I think that it's not about treating people differently, it's about honoring the struggle that teachers have been facing for 2 years. That's what this is about. We're not trying to treat anyone differently. We care about every single member, but we need to honor the struggle of the people that we've had for 2 years that have continued to stay in the district.
Yeah, and Jill, that was said very eloquently. You're not going to get an argument from me on that point, and not an argument at all. My point, I believe, is those that have come on anew are also coming on knowing what they're facing, and that takes the significant decision from a young person, most of the time, to say, you know what, I'm still going to be a teacher even though there have been these significant challenges. And so that's just, I hear you, I don't argue with your premise at all. It's just, and Suzette can tell you the challenges of recruiting in this environment. So those that are willing to come to work for us, I'm also very proud of, just like I'm proud of all of you. So that's why I asked.
All right, Carl had his end up, then Bob, then Kevin.
Okay, actually, I'll probably reiterate in some sense, because I do agree with the premise that Jill brought us. I don't disagree with that at all. When as we go forward, I may decide to live with it. I do have concerns. I just want to say it's kind of interesting, as we know, money is a language that sometimes could be divisive at times. And so while I definitely respect the sentiments that were expressed, I want to just say out loud that I do have concern about how the others can receive it as well. So and neither perspective is is wrong or whatever, but I want to say it out loud. So while I can possibly live with it, I just wanted to say it out loud because that way later on down the road, if it becomes an issue, I just wanted to say that it just needs to be said that it can sometimes add more divisiveness. And I also know that sometimes those who've been around feel like I haven't been appreciated enough. So I've been around long enough to hear both sides of it. But I just want to express that, so.
All right, thank you, Carmen. Go on next.
Yeah.
On the blue.
Sorry. Yeah, I think that what we need collectively here as a group is to kind of direct our efforts toward relieving, as Joe was saying, the plight of teachers. And this isn't just the last couple of years, just a little brief history. The veteran teachers, back in 2012, our teaching careers were changed because of the legislature. And now teachers are having their 3% coming out of their paychecks. That did not happen before. There's no more national board certification. That doesn't happen anymore. Master's degree has been taken away from teachers if they have a master's in curriculum instruction, for instance. That's been taken away. So a veteran teacher that's been around since 2012, you're talking about $7,000. They're making less than they did back then because of the 3%. And our group here, our union, fought the legislature back then because they wanted to take out more. So every single year since that year, teachers are losing out 3% of their salary, every single year. And I understand that, we're concerned with retention. I don't agree with the fact that ESSER money is used for retention, but if that's the direction that we're going in, so be it. And I think that what Jill was saying kind of puts a good point of view out there as far as rewarding the people for coming back next year, and I don't think that we need to justify it anymore. Thanks.
All right, go ahead, Kevin, and then Jill. And then Rob.
Well, unless they want to make their comments on the record, we just need a 5-minute caucus.
Oh, you want to do your comments first, or I'll give them their 5-minute comments?
And I just want to share something I shared with my rep last night as we talk about treating people differently. I've been with the district 25 years. I've loved almost every day, because nobody loves their job every day. I make $38 an hour after 25 years. Somebody who just walked across the stage at Florida Gulf Coast, God bless them, makes 30. So, when you talk about treating people differently, the legislature has in just guaranteed, we have been forced to do that. And so, again, I think the idea that the people that have been here and have hung out and have been all year, they've fought a little more of a fight than those that have come on. Everybody's fought a fight, I get it. But again, I'm $38 an hour after 25 years. And new people are 30, so.
Jill just said she had a question, and she asked a
Yeah,
question.
Jill wants to say something quickly.
Okay, go ahead, Jill, ask your question.
So I know, the governor gave certain people, certain teachers, because it was based on job code, right, the $1,000 in the summer and principals. And then the district used ESSER funds to give those who did not receive the $1,000. Did the 610 people that were hired over the summer, did they get that $1,000? Were they eligible Group B?
If they were employed as of December 15th.
Okay, thank you.
All right, well.
So one of the things, and this is definitely just story, I think one of the things that we've talked about in the past that's been highlighted and Bob and Kevin and others have kind of touched on this is because of some of the decisions that have been made by the legislature, it ends up in some ways pitting teachers against teachers, or people in education against people in education. And so, just wanted to say that I think that's unfortunate. I think everyone understands why it is that the option that's being put up there is what it is. But again, it's unfortunate that because of the pendulum swinging too far this way and then too far back this way and then too far back this way, that you end up having a situation where someone is, even, thinking, is this person, being put ahead of me? And is that right? Rather than, is everyone moving in the same direction and is everyone appropriately compensated?
Okay, now you want a 5-minute caucus, you said,
Yes.
in here?
I think we can go in there.
You're gonna go in there?
Certainly.
Okay. Okay. both teams today.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a report out. from
Sure, yeah, so we discussed the TALC option relative to the bonus structure. Have a question, is, we had other options up there regarding
We did.
the additional $1,500. And I don't know exactly what the option says.
We had 4 options up there.
Okay,
This is option 1, option 2, like, sorry, hold on. This is 2 and 4.
I think it was part of option 4.
Part 4,
I believe so.
retention bonus of $1,500 for those who are employed for the last day of their contract. Is that the one you're talking about, Rob? There's more to it. Yeah.
that's, what option is that?
Option 4.
Okay, so, and this one's option 5?
Yes.
All right, so we still have the word $1,000, but I would like to propose straw design of option 4 and option 5.
Sorry, that's gonna get a little messy because option 4 also had different amounts.
Yeah.
So you wanna take the 1,500 from option 4 and include it on option 5, is that right?
Yeah, yes, that's what I'm doing.
Okay, so I want to do an option 6.
Yeah, you can do an option 6, $1,500 paid October 15th for anyone who, was employed on the last day of their contract FY '22 and employed.
Hold on.
Yep.
August 10th or August 8th or whatever it is.
Employing the last day of work.
The last day, what, June
So
22?
the last contract day of fiscal year '22.
Okay, fiscal year 22.
And if I remember right, my notes are a little sketchy here. I think we said had to be working and payroll active on September 30th.
Correct, yes, that's right.
Now, and while I have the mic, if you don't mind, we were talking about this particular option. That's why we didn't include it in number 5, because we were thinking about the total dollar amount. So if there is an estimated number of employees returning of 5,960 at 1,500 each, what is that, 8.94 million? Could we have some conversation around if less employees return, then we take the pot of money that was available and divide over the number of active payroll employees at the time?
So, the original, what was budgeted was $2,000 per person, right? So we're already way over the $2,000 per person. So, I would, that's not within the bargaining thing, is to go ahead and start making, like, I've gone over what I had at 2,000. Remember, we did 2,000, I did 2,000 payments. You're at 4,500 right now. So I don't want to, my thing is I thought I could get a little bit of savings and maybe where there was no difference there. So if you're taking the bargaining pot, you're taking 4,000 per person.
Maybe I didn't, I think I confused myself too. So now we're talking about $1,500 per person that's on payroll September 30th, right? So if we're estimating, yeah, that was on payroll at the end of the year. We're estimating that's 5,960 people, correct?
I'm guessing it's gonna be something lower than that.
Okay, well, oh, that's fine. So if we take whatever that pot of money is, all we're asking is, we would like to have a conversation around it. So say that if we imagine 5,800 employees come back, but only 5,000 do, then we could get a higher payment out of the money that was available, is what we're talking about.
Yeah, and I know what you're asking, but remember what was what the original amount was 2,000, this year 2,000, next year, which is 4,000, we're at 4,500. So I've already gone above that piece of it. So, and I did that thinking there might be some savings from taking the highest estimation of those people when we do this.
Well, can I ask your question back to you a different way, Kurt?
Yes, please.
So you're saying, like right now, the number that we've got up there with 1,500 is 8.9 million in estimated cost. So you're saying if there were fewer people, we would stay at the 8.9 million and adjust the other dollar figure to make sure that we're spending all of what's being put out there?
That's exactly what I was trying to say. You said it much better than I did, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. So the dilemma is what Kelly's already articulated, which is we never anticipated an additional $500, which we're agreeing to. We were at 4, and you all, I think at the end of last session, that was your option that added an additional 500, so that's what we're concerned about.
All right, Shay.
So I think with our last option, we took that 500 out. So the person that's been here since day one this year would be 2,575. And then the 1,500, that brings us to 4,075. That doesn't bring us to 4,500. I mean, am I incorrect?
Their amount over there is, their amounts only add up to 4,500. Let's see. $25 at 15 is 4, not 45. So 2,575 plus 15 is $4,075. So it's not 45.
Right, okay, Kelly stands corrected. A little bit of math issues in here.
It's the Friday action. All right,
So did they combine the options into one, or what did we do here?
So we have option 5 and 6, but we were trying to have a discussion around altering the payment in October if there's less people, but keeping the budgeted money the same. Is that something that we can agree to put as a caveat in option 6?
Yes.
okay, so.
And we can discuss the specifics in labor management, closer to that time. But
Yeah, I mean, we'll agree to discuss it. I mean, obviously, we're not gonna agree to an outcome, right? Yeah.
So we want to put it in words so Amanda can get it on the chart for option 6?
Oh, jeez.
I know.
Hey, Will, help me out. So let me think out loud and see if it makes sense. So the estimated expense is 8.9 million, and we will equitably divide that sum of money over the number of people active on payroll September 30. I think I made it more complicated.
Well, yeah. No, I know, but the caveat, which is in the event the amount is lower, we will agree to discuss the distribution of that money in top labor management. I mean,
Kelly, you have an idea?
Yeah, so the original was 1,500 paid on October 15th, employed last contract day on FY '22 and still actively working on September 30th, 2022, right?
Correct.
So what if we said $8,940,000 to be equally distributed to employees on October 15th that were employed last contract day on FY '22 and still actively working on September 30th, 2022?
I think that would work. Thank you.
Okay, now say it again so Amanda can write it down. All right, bear with us while we get the correct wording out there. So everybody knows what they're approving or looking at. And we are going to change that star design from 4 to 5 to 5 and 6.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I can't do that. That was a mistake.
Just so we're clear on the tax issue, okay? The money, they're not, individuals will be taxed. This is pre-tax, okay, we've had that confusion over the last several months.
Especially with the $1,000 that came from the governor was $1,000 after taxes, so yeah, we understand.
Well, I'm not so sure about that.
That's what I'm saying.
That's true. Why does specific
Okay, we have option 6 written up here now. $1,500 paid October 15th for employee last day of FY '22, must be working and payroll active as of September 30th, 2022. $8,940,000 paid on.
You don't want to see.
Paid on.
I'll make a records request.
Paid on October 15th, employed last contract day of FY '22 and still actively working on September 30th, 2022. Maybe 10/14? Oh, the 15th is a Saturday, okay. Thank you, Cam. Yes. Right, so we have a star design at the moment of option 5 and option 6. Mike? Mike?
What are they?
Yeah, Mike needs the mic.
We have the $1,500 up there, but what if we actually have more teachers come back than we're anticipating? Would they get less than the 1,500? Or would it be capped at the 8.9 million?
Thanks, Mike. Oh, sorry. No, sorry.
Kevin?
How can we have more come back than we already have?
We have now.
If we have 6,000 now, 6,001 can't come back unless, well, there's something I know.
I'm taking a stab in the dark here, based on past interactions with Mike. There's a possibility that we can hire people between today and the end of the year. And so if we're at 5,900 now and we find 100 teachers, we could be at 6,000, not 5,900.
That's what could happen too.
It's possible, not saying it's likely, but I'm guessing that that's the contingency that Mike is trying to account for, right?
So, do we move forward, or do you want to discuss that issue? Kerr?
I guess if we already have a caveat up there that if there's less employees, we're bringing it back to labor management to discuss an equitable distribution. Is that part of option 6? The caveat or just?
Well, she was trying to keep it simple and just say that it would be equally divided no matter what that number is. Right? Yeah. 5 minutes?
Yep.
Will?
Yeah, we're good.
Oh, okay. Okay. You have two missing.
Yeah, we're
Yeah, so let's go. Progress report.
Just a very quick discussion on the option.
Okay. And Rob,
Yeah, to add to one of those options, we just
add
need,
to it or?
well, we need language that, would reference the retention part of it, that there would be no break in service, essentially during the summer from the individual. I don't know where we want to put that.
So must be working in payroll active as of September 30th, 2022 with no break in service?
Correct, between the end of the.
FY 22.
Correct, to that date. And then we also need to cover the individual that may go from SPALC or N, or admin for that matter, to a TALC position, and what they, how that would work. Because they would still be employed by the district at the end of the year, not have a break in service, but start a job as a teacher theoretically in August. So, I mean, we can make them eligible, it's, yeah, go ahead.
All right, Kurt.
I don't want to speak for the team, but my first thought is everything you said checked off the conditions of the payments I would expect them to get paid if they were in a different bargaining unit and then changed to the top unit at the next year. I know we had one more question, but I didn't really catch what it was. Do you mind asking?
Rob, can you just clarify what break in service means? Because we do have people watching on YouTube and they may not know what you're talking about when you say break in service.
Sure, a break in service is essentially termination of your employment, whether that's through resignation, retirement, voluntary, involuntary, non-reappointed, whatever that may be, termination of your employment, and then you return.
Jill?
So I think what and maybe Will knows what I'm asking. So for example, a teacher could be non-renewed, but then they could get hired back and start the first day. So that's what I'm wanting to clarify so that people understand what we're saying.
Well?
Yeah, you just said what I was gonna say. If you work every day in the contract year, if you were not rehired for the first day of school, and let's say you got picked up 2 weeks into the school year, that's a break in service.
Yes.
So just as long as they return August 2nd, they work their last day of this contract, and they are considered employed by the district August 2nd, there's no break in service in the summertime.
For someone on a 196, yes. It would be different if you were 206, 216, that kind of stuff, but yeah, for most people, that would be the date.
Kevin?
And this also aligns with things like insurance, right? So if you don't have a break, insurance carries over, but if you do, your 90 days reset. So this aligns with that language as well, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else?
So So.
the scenarios we need to discuss. Rob?
I don't know the numbers, so I'm kind of.
Okay. So far, we have 6 options, and we have a straw design of 6 and 5 up there.
Okay.
Option 6 is the long one about the $1,500 and no break in service, and if your employee, the last contract is still actively working, that money, that $8,940,000 would be distributed equally.
Okay, so the straw design's already up there?
Yeah.
All right, so I would propose that we test it.
All right, we have a star design of 5 and 6 for retention bonus. 5, of course, is over at the bottom there, those numbers. All right, we have an agreement. Yay! Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Kirk.
I know I can speak for the team, in this case and say how happy we are that we are able to get this orange circle right before spring break so that people can go home with some really good news. Or not go home, go on vacation. And we put a lot of work into this, so it's really good to see a positive solution.
And we're just as pleased. I do think though you raise a good point, which is I would like us to try to get some kind of communication out today. So I think it's important for both parties. We would like to talk about compensation in the short time we have left, simply because we have a bit of a pressing issue relative to the 47.5 issue. So if we can talk about that.
Is that the bargaining authority on the agenda, or is that we're sticking to Article 10?
Go ahead, Kevin.
Kevin?
What's the pressing issue on 47.5? There's no statutory requirement. I mean, I know I'll leave this call in while ago, but honestly, you need to get some damn business.
Well, although in principle I don't disagree with your comments, just so everyone knows, we received a letter from DOE, and we are one of 20 districts that is still bargaining. 3 are at impasse, and we have been asked to explain if we don't have an agreement to pay new teachers at $47,500 by March 30th, we have been called to Tallahassee to explain that. So to alleviate a possible 6 or 7 hour ride for probably several of us, we wanted to talk, we talked about it last time relative to the bands. And we don't have another session scheduled between now and then, so that's. Oh, we do, okay, on the 28th, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so it would be nice to have some clarity today, but okay, I understand.
I guess I don't see that that's a really pressing issue because the move to 47.5 is only $200. And I cannot imagine, I mean, neither side has even mouthed the I word, impasse. And I can imagine that we wouldn't be able to add that $200 to that bottom rung of the salary schedule. So I guess it's not pressing on our end. I don't think we can get a disagreement.
Yeah, I understand, and I agree with you. I mean, I don't think, we're gonna get there. So we're also working with the fact that with your other bargaining unit, that we now have to get to $15 an hour by October. So we're getting a lot of mandates from Tallahassee that are somewhat frustrating in this process. So, but I know the next thing on the agenda was the bargaining authority. So I can speak to that. We received an additional $2 million yesterday for TALC, and we're pleased about that and hopeful that that can get us to a point where we're able to make an agreement. So that's the bargaining authority conversation.
Okay. Anything else? Questions for Kevin?
Does that 2 million take into account the $1,000 that the district would like to use in October?
No, that money's separate.
Okay. My head's still on. Thanks. I think for me, the best way to move forward now is just to propose an option at $1,000 to everybody in October.
Okay, so you wanna move back to the bonus situation, yeah?
I'll move back to the bonus out of the authority now, because again, I think on my end, if you say we've got money that's not in the bargaining authority, it gets everybody $1,000, that's simple.
Well, the $1,000 was part of the bargaining authority,
So,
but not reoccurring.
so we had 9, we now have 11, correct?
Yeah.
And so out of that 11 comes the $1,000 bonus.
No,
Okay.
you misunderstood me, I'm sorry.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that's not in the 11, that's the 1,000, that might be the next orange circle that we can tell people about right now.
Okay, I understand your philosophy is to want to do that now. Okay, I'm with you.
All right, so the option is, again, this is a new one, option one.
That easy one, it'll be $4,000.
The 1,000, I think it's similar to the language we had for the other bonus in October. Okay, it's $1,000. I don't know where the language is. You have it still? If you're employed on the last contract day and returning on August, that language that we just voted on.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay. On last contract, you have like one.
and still working,
FY 22.
still employed and working under payroll active status on September 30th, no break in service,
Okay,
that language.
yeah. And then it's like, well, then it, okay.
What was the return?
September 30th.
Wait a second.
Yeah, she has active payroll status. What?
$1,000 bonus employed on last day.
$1,000 bonus employed on last contract day of FY 22 and active payroll status with no break in service on September 30th. That's worded a little differently than our last one, but I think.
Well, we're gonna have to have consistent language, so we'll, yeah, what's that? Okay.
Yeah, once you look at it, we'll have to be tweaked, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Jill.
So, I'm confused. We did an orange circle that if you're employed on the last day of your contract for FY 22, that in October, and you're still employed with no break in service September 30th, you would get $1,500, right? And so now we're also doing another $1,000 for that same group, so they would get $2,500?
Yeah, that's why Kevin was told to hold on to his hat, I believe. Yes, that is non-recurring funds, but not ESSER. That's why we did them separately.
So we're offering two separate retention amounts for returning employees?
Well, it would ultimately add up to $2,500.
Right, I'm just,
Basically, they're coming from two different funding sources.
yes, I'm just confirming that both amounts are only retention. That's all.
Yes.
Yeah.
With this option, we're having the same stipulations, with the last day of this contract. Would this bonus also exclude any new hires?
Yes, because the purpose of it, per the board, is for retention.
Okay, so that was like, almost like funds from Tallahassee are earmarked and such, this is a board request as well.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, clarifications? We have one option up there. Any others, or do we need to test this option?
Donna, I think we can test this option.
Okay. All right, everyone who approves the $1,000 bonus, if you're employed on the last contract day, retention bonus, this is the second retention bonus part 2, 2.01 or whatever.
No, I was being asked by my team whether it's the same payment date, and I said yes.
Yeah. Oh, payment date October 14th. Yeah, we'll add it. So $1,000 bonus if you're employed on the last contract day of FY '22 and you have active payroll status with no break in service on September 30th with a payment date of October 14th, 2022. Anna?
Can you just clarify how this will be taxed?
Our mic, I think, is dead, so the same way as the others. Yeah, it'll be taxed.
A bonus tax, and can you just clarify that, because I know this answer, but for the powers that be, when we combine bonuses on a tax, they're taxed differently and then combined, correct?
Will, go ahead.
I'm gonna ask the question and try to answer it. I think what Anna is saying is that there's a different payroll withholding rate for bonuses, and that
Than our salary.
There's a different rate for withholdings for bonuses than for regular base pay, and that those different lines would have the different rate applied. So you might have a higher percentage of the bonus held back than you would your regular pay.
I will say that employees believe that when a bonus is included on their check, that their entire money is all taxed at that higher rate. While it all may be direct deposited in one way, there's a belief that it is all taxed at that higher rate at the same time.
You mean higher rate, the supplemental tax rate of 22%? Yes. No, we will not be taxed at 22%. The regular tax rate.
Regular tax rate, not 22%, which is the supplemental tax rate.
This fund.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Do I need to read it again? Any other questions? We ready to go?
Yes.
At 3:25, all those who approve of option 1 for the $1,000 bonus next school year. All right, another orange circle. What a way to start the spring break. It is 3:25. I don't think, Rob, anything more we can do in 5 minutes?
Pockets are empty.
Goodbye.
No, I
Rob
hear
said his pockets are empty.
I hear some change jingling.
Anything else over here?
Not today.
Not today. Well, with that, all of you who are going on spring break, rest, relax, and enjoy.
Put the work aside.
And put the work aside, Kevin said. And those of you who have to work, I'm sorry, but maybe you can get a couple of days off. So, anyway,